So we have quite a few games for you today. Just waiting for Cjros to ready up, and here we go. Let's get ready for our first game of the night. I'm expecting to see toads from both players and a fair amount of tier 1.
Well, Chip knows what he wants and is actually taking Boar, which I haven't seen the previous matches, but I know amongst the community that has been said that this is an less powerful tier 3. So
it was very successful in his games against Classic Metal. I watched those replays, and the Boar won him 2 games very convincingly. So we'll see if he can repeat that performance. But without further ado, we have a game going on right now. In the north, we have in Sanitarium, Cjros or Chris, call him as you wish. And in the south, in green, we have ChipFromSpace. What do you think about the map, Valentine?
It looks like, as far as maps go, this looks like a pretty even map. I'd give a slight edge to Sanitarium. However, it's not much.
Yeah, I would agree. He definitely has slightly easier access to expansions, but ChipFromSpace can expand forward and then just secure territory that way. We didn't really talk about in Sanitarium's picks too much, but both players didn't take lizards. Perhaps a bit too scared of the toads?
Yeah, it's definitely. They may have been over-nerfed in a way, but they still are very potent if the other player doesn't have toads. If you're at equal micro skills, lizards versus toads the toad player will win. So both players are obviously.
Agree with that.
So I think the fact they didn't take lizards means both players definitely think the other one is a worthy competitor.
Yeah, the in a toad versus lizard micro battle, the toad player definitely has the advantage, or has an easier way of coming up ahead there. So it looks like both players are just going for double squirrel on was that 8 farm from in Sanitarium, and I think 7 farm from ChipFromSpace. Looking at these timings, never mind, they both went for the same timings. And yeah, it just looks like there's going to be a bunch of squirrels. Both players scouting out the map, figuring out where all the bases are. And I don't know, maybe ChipFromSpace is going to go a bit more defensive, since he's in the previous match he has lost to in Sanitarium. We might see first deviation here with ChipFromSpace went up to 12 squirrels, has placed a landmine as well, and in Sanitarium is going to go for skunks instead of more squirrels right now.
If he gets the base to his immediate right, I think this is a pretty great skunk defensive position.
Yeah, he does have the high ground right outside his base that he can put his skunks on. He does not have pigeons to prolong the lives of his skunks, however, so he has to be really careful with them, I think.
It's also just a narrow path to get into that second base if he goes for it.
Very true. ChipFromSpace is going for a very early Boar here. We're at 2 minutes 40 seconds, and his tier 3 Warren placed all the way in the back, so I doubt that in Sanitarium is going to scout this. He's going to try.
He doesn't see any more Warrens.
Yeah, he does scout it now. Very nicely done. Unfortunately, the map is a bit open here, so he can run all the way around.
Also, at this point in the game, if you know you're getting a tier 2 out and an extra Warren, and then you see no tier 2 and no extra Warren from the other player, it should raise some bells.
Yeah, but now in Sanitarium does know that the Boar is coming, but I'm wondering if he has the right units to deal with it, because skunks and squirrels don't have that much DPS. So maybe this won't be enough, and he might just run into landmine here.
I think snakes are a pretty good option against.
Yeah, but he's not building any more tier 2s, so in Sanitarium's going to go for a push right now. He's got some skunk gas down. His skunk is in the front, he pulls it back nicely. Skunk survival on 4 HP. The squirrel's just going wild. In Sanitarium,
he's got the gas in the key spots.
The Boar is not done yet. There's going to be a few farms dying here. The skunk is still alive, putting down more gas. Skunk finally gets taken out, but end of the day, ChipFromSpace loses 2 farms and a bunch of squirrel warrens, but he will have his Boar coming soon.
Just catching up, I think I was a little bit delayed.
So the Boar is out now for ChipFromSpace, and I think he just has to go right away to try and push for this. And here we go. The Boar is going to put down its first fire in Sanitarium, trying to get some gas down, but
just retreats immediately. But
yeah, and with squirrels having 8 HP now, they can stand in that skunk gas, and Insanitarium surrenders against the boar push, despite a very good tier 2 push with his skunks. Very nice game from both players here. Alright.
If it
so
had been
that's-
any, or if I guess if it did have to be boar there as the tier 3 push, or like if it had been Al, would it have been a similar situation where you'd see Chip winning, or is this only a boar thing you can do?
I think because Insanitarium went so heavily on tier 1, I think boar is the one correct choice in this scenario. The other tier 3s either take too long or just don't have enough straight up firepower to win against Mass Tier 1, in my opinion. But we'll have to see if that holds up. As we are getting ready for game number 2, ChipFromSpace up 1 game in this best of 5, so if he wins 2 more, he will take it, and we'll see if Insanitarium can bring it back.
He's dropped the skunk in favor of a fox this time.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to be the correct choice, because the skunk push was pretty strong, but maybe he's just going to expect ChipFromSpace from going for the exact same strategy, and he will counter it with perhaps a fox. So, let's talk about the positions here. We have ChipFromSpace on the left side of the map in green again, and Insanitarium in the right corner. Both players don't really have a good expansion option, in my opinion.
It'll definitely be an advantage to whoever can control those 2 bases on the high ground, but it's not going to be a game-winning one.
Yeah, it's I mean, I guess both players can get semi-safe expansions just because of how far away they are from each other. ChipFromSpace has slight edge in the way the bases are positioned, but we saw from last game that neither player actually got to a second base, so chances are we see the same thing again. ChipFromSpace went 8 farm Warren, I believe, and Insanitarium is going to go 7 farm double Squirrel, so a slight change in build here. ChipFromSpace does have a mine, but Insanitarium has scouted it, so is not going to run into that most likely. And we'll see if these early squirrels from Insanitarium are going to make a difference.
Just scouting things out.
Yeah, both players just building up their armies. Probably going for 9 squirrels, as Chip does right now. And I expect Insanitarium to do the same very soon, unless he goes for earlier tier 2, which is going to be the case. So he goes snakes.
Guess he's afraid of that boar, or is there something else some other reason you would get early snakes?
I think the snakes are just a decent tier 2 in general, so I wouldn't rate them very highly or very lowly right now. Cjros was trying to get some scouting in, but ChipFromSpace controlling that little hill in the middle. Depends on what he wants to do with these snakes. If he wants to do another push like he did with the skunks, or if he's just going to rely on them to defend against the boar push that he's most likely expecting from Chip. And Chip is saving up quite a bit of food, so chances are, he's adding on toads. So maybe expecting lizards or toads from Insanitarium, or perhaps chameleons. Because the toads versus squirrel matchup generally doesn't go that well.
Toads are also fairly decent against snake.
That's true, because the snakes won't really be able to take out the toads in time. But with this many squirrels from Insanitarium, he's going to go up to 15 very soon. I think it's going to be enough to deal with the toads, but ChipFromSpace has a very nice position on this hill here with these 2 landmines.
Yeah, doesn't see this snake.
And the snake just gets popped by the double landmine. Very nice win. And this other snake is very low and gets picked off as well. So now it's just squirrels for Insanitarium against the toad and lizard army from Chip. But Chip is going to decide to pull back. Very nice win for him, though.
I think he could have pushed his luck a little bit more.
Yeah, probably could have. But maybe it's, just wants to play it safe. Takes his win.
He goes for a boar.
Oh yeah, so he does have a boar coming up.
He's just looking to control any possible expand from Chris.
Yeah, Chris is going to try and secure some territory with a balloon here. Might see a fight. The toads are going to try and come in, but yeah, none of them actually get to detonate because the squirrels pick them off or run away. There's a balloon up, so that's going to give Insanitarium a nice amount of vision.
It's going to secure him that base and possibly at least push Chip back from the high ground. And it's also good against the boar.
Or, yeah, it's going to take a while before the balloon actually kills the boar. And speaking of the boar, the warren has just finished, so the timer is on. No food delay there.
Expand though?
He saw one of the farms, but it's hidden by a tree, so maybe he didn't see it.
Oh, we just saw in the bottom expand the mine taking out a farm as soon as it was placed.
Yeah, he has it on his minimap, so he should know that there's a base there. So the boar is out for Chip, and it looks like he is going to be trying to push. Insanitarium sold his second snake warren and is going to try and get a fox up, but it might be too late if ChipFromSpace pushes right away.
It's also fairly close to the rest of the warren, so
yeah, ChipFromSpace is going around the balloon, but he also doesn't really have high ground vision. Oh, but the snakes run out in front and do not do well against the boar at all. Most of Insanitarium's army just gets roasted. And here it comes. The boar is going to come out in front again, just burning down the squirrels, but most of Chip's tier 1 army is dead. Although the mill for Insanitarium does go down, and with that he sees no way out but to surrender. So ChipFromSpace, taking his second game, one game away from advancing to the next round. Very nicely done. So perhaps the idea, I think, was nice for the snakes, but maybe Insanitarium just mistiming his counters for the boar because he wasn't ready for it.
My thought is he needs to get his own tier 3 out at a similar pace if he thinks that's going to happen, rather than...
Yeah, I think that's that might be one strategy, or do something like he did in game 1, but perhaps a slightly more all-in tier 2 push, where he takes out more than 2 farms and a few warrens. ChipFromSpace has been decently lucky, I guess, with how his bases have been, that like he can get a boar out in a safe position. So maybe that will change. Yeah, ChipFromSpace not going to change a winning strategy, and Insanitarium trying to figure out how to deal with this. Gonna try adding in Falcons this time, still deciding on that last unit. And it is going to be the Fox. So sticking with the Fox idea, it didn't come out into play last game. But here we go, the third game. This might be the last one in this series, as Chip is up 2-0. We have Insanitarium in the south in red, and ChipFromSpace on the left-hand side in green. Again, I'd call this a fairly even map, even though there is a slight edge for ChipFromSpace.
Just a slight high ground, which doesn't really matter, except Chris doesn't have pigeons, so he's going to have to get the Falcon tier 2 if he wants to have a more successful push.
Yeah. ChipFromSpace has pigeons again this game, which it didn't do last game, though it didn't really matter. We'll see if both players go for the... looks like, yeah, so both players going for 7 farms, and then going for units after that, excuse me. Chip actually going for 8 farms, and Insanitarium also going for 8 farms, so they are just going to get economy first, and then they'll worry about units later. And again, squirrels are the bread and butter of these early armies. Insanitarium going double squirrel warren, ChipFromSpace doing the same thing. Nothing surprising there. ChipFromSpace is going to get his first squirrels slightly early, but then Insanitariums are he put his warrens around the same time, so he'll get 2 and then another 2. There's like a slight timing he could exploit there, but I don't know if he's going to go for it.
It's very narrow.
Yeah.
And well, Chip's getting pigeons now. Yes, anticipating some fight.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a slight difference in strategy here. Chip really likes these landmines in just nice positions. So last game they did a huge amount of work taking out a snake and ensuring the death of another one. Insanitarium is going to go for chameleons, looks like, while Chip is going for squirrels and pigeons rather than just pure squirrel like we saw in previous games. And it looks like ChipFromSpace might actually go for an early push here, or he thinks better of it and decides not to do it.
Might be just posturing to control the high ground.
Yeah, you can posture for control high ground, place some more landmines if he wants. Insanitarium does scout what's going on, but now ChipFromSpace again has a very nice position to build his boar warren in.
And he does, which is the continual same strategy in and out.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sanitarium does have one chameleon out, and his second one is almost done, so maybe he's looking to push with this. He does have a lead in terms of like straight army numbers right now.
There's a back way into the base that doesn't have mines if he's smart about which way he picks.
Yeah, there's still the issue of going up to the double high ground, and he doesn't have.
Oh, he's just bringing the chameleons around. He's
okay.
But it's just
some cheeky snipes.
Chip going to see the water move.
And he also ran into a landmine.
So he's definitely following there. So he's
Chip knows what's going on.
But I don't think
squirrels are ready for it. Yeah, he's just pulling back his chameleons. Landmines went off again, killing a good number of squirrels actually for Insanitarium. So the squirrel count is even.
But and you do want to.
Is halfway done.
Sanitarium needs to get those falcons or more chameleons to deal with the boar.
Yeah, he's just not respecting the boar, it looks like. He's going for an expansion here. He hasn't scouted the boar, but it would be safe to say that he should expect it at this point in the game. Yeah. So it is out now, and Chip is wasting no time rallying it immediately. Sanitarium is trying to get up a balloon, so we'll see if this timing wins him the game again. And again, Sanitarium just has squirrels and 2 chameleons, so he has to do a lot of work with
these. Fox warren about a minute too late.
Yep. So here comes the boar. Chameleons are out in. Nope. Sanitarium has to pull back. He lost a few of his army already. The balloon is in range now, but probably just going to be ChipFromSpace roasting all these squirrels again. The boar is about half HP right now. He's not getting healed by the pigeons. Okay, there it goes. But the expansion for Insanitarium is going to go down. The balloon is probably going to stay up, and ChipFromSpace is going to take that as a win and retreat for now.
Did he lose the Fox Warren or did he sell it?
I believe he lost it because he doesn't have the food to rebuild all his chameleons, but I am not sure.
He did lose all of his army, so it might have gone into squirrels. But...
Now Chip is going to try and push into this position. The balloon is exposed, the balloon gets taken out, and now Insanitarium was trying to pull his chameleons around the back, but it didn't work, and throws in the towel. ChipFromSpace taking his revenge after losing earlier 2-0 to Cjros, and will take the series and advancing to the next round. Very nicely played by him.
This should be reassuring to